Good morning, friends. Welcome to Multiverse with AKULMAC. This is a live show, daily show, where we actually bring interesting fact about the celestial objects that exist in our space, and you can actually engage with us by sending messages, any questions you have during the show or even after that. So, what is that we are going to bring to you today? Yes, I think we are going to talk about 10 interesting fact about Mars. And Mars, as you know, there is a lot of activity going on at this point in time, and human race want to colonize Mars. So, what is so interesting about Mars? And as you can see, this is a live feed from Mars, and this is how exactly Mars look at this point in time. All I've done in my sandbox, I've increased the speed of rotation so that the movement looks more realistic. The first fact of Mars is that it is red in color. And why it is red in color? Because of the abundance of iron oxide. And as you know, iron oxide is a material which is basically the red coating on a iron rod or a steel rod when it is exposed to element. So oxygen reacts with iron, pure iron, and then becomes an iron oxide, which is we also call rust. So red planet has red soil because there is a lot of iron oxide on the planet. So in other words, there is a lot of rust on the planet. So that is the first information which I wanted to share with you. Next is that Mars, just like the Earth, has a system from air, water, ice, and all of this creates a geology. So, as you know, that on Earth, the water system, air system, and the ice or snow creates erosion, shapes the land over eons, and so on. Similarly, Mars also have the same feature: the presence of storms, presence of water, and also the ice creates the landscape and also shape it over eons. So it's very similar to the activity which goes on the surface of the Earth. This Mars also has a similar activity going uh, on the surface of the Mars. What next? Well, believe it or not, Mars is 100 times less dense than Earth, and consequently the atmosphere of the Mars is also 99% less dense than the atmosphere of the Earth. So the material which are available on Mars are not as abundant as we find them on Earth. So it is less dense, it is lighter, and therefore it will have a less gravity. The gravity of Mars is only 38% of the Earth. So that creates a totally different kind of a system, different challenges it brings, and which humans will have to tackle because it has the density is less, and so it may have an impact on building material and also a breathable atmosphere, etc. What next? Because of this low atmospheric pressure, it is very very difficult to retain water in liquid form on the surface. Just like Earth, there is a pressure which there is a lot of water on Earth, and the atmospheric pressure does not allow water to evaporate. And what happens is when the water evaporates, it rises up in the atmosphere, and there the ultraviolet rays coming from the sun breaks the water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen. And as you know, friends, that the gravity of Earth cannot hold lighter gases like hydrogen and helium. So once the water molecule up in the atmosphere is broken down into two elements, hydrogen escapes into the universe. So the same thing happens on Mars. If there is liquid water, it evaporates quickly because the atmosphere is not exerting enough pressure, and because of that, the hydrogen is leaked out into the universe, and as a result, there will not be enough hydrogen left to create fresh water. Unlike Earth, there is a complete cycle. It repeats over and over again. Once water is liquefied on surface of the Mars, that particular hydrogen is released into the universe, and the future formation of water becomes much more difficult. What next? Well, Mars is the only planet which has polar ice in addition to Earth. Well, if you look at Earth is the only planet in the entire solar system which has water existing in all three forms at the same time. It is in the form of steam up in the atmosphere. It is also in the form of ice as and snow, which is a solid form of water, and also it is also exist in the liquid form. So all three states of water exist on Earth. Well, on Mars also similar thing happens, and Mars is the only other planet in the solar system which has polar ice. That means most of the water is actually trapped in the polar ice on Mars, and whenever it melts, the it evaporates quickly. So whenever there is a water flow on the surface of the Mars, you don't see the water accumulate for very long time. It evaporates and then eventually breaks apart, and hydrogen releases back into the universe. What next? The tallest mountain in the entire solar system exists on Mars. But this is not a mountain actually. It is a ancient volcano, and it is called Olympus Mons. And this is three times the height of Everest. And that is why it is very, very tall. It's like a highland. It's a huge highland with a crater in the center. And it is so high. It is very, very high, and that is why it has the title of being called the tallest mountain on anywhere in the solar system, entire solar system. What next? Well, this is something about India. Many countries are now sending probes um, to Mars to study it better, to understand how humans can survive on Mars, what are the materials required, and everybody is rushing towards either sending a probe to monitor it, or robotic probes to land on the surface of the Mars. So India is the first country to succeed in their very first mission to Mars. There were a lot of like NASA and other countries also tried, but their first missions were failed, whereas India achieved the success even in the very first mission to Mars. And the India's orbiter is going around Mars and sending a lot of valuable data, which is very, very important. And this mission is called Mangalyaan. So this is just a trivia on India and why it is significant, because India have sent the lowest cost mission to Mars, and they succeeded in their first mission itself. What next? Well, Mars is a smaller planet. It is much smaller, as I have already told you, that it has less gravity. The density is also less. But if you look at the surface area of the Mars, the surface area is completely solid. There is no water, there is no ocean, there is no lake, etc. So entire surface area is available for colonization, or basically walking around. This surface area, this surface of the Mars, is equal to the land mass available on Earth. And when we call land mass, we do not include the oceans. And as you know, friends, that 70% of the surface of the Earth is covered by oceans. So if you look at the livable area, which is the land mass, like Africa, all the continents, Australia, Asia, Europe, that surface is equal to the available surface on Mars. So I think even if humans try to migrate to Mars, the entire population, they can fit in very well, because they will have place to live on Mars and also grow. What next? Just like the Earth, Mars also demonstrate four separate seasons. And you know that Earth has four seasons like winter, summers, autumn, and spring. Similarly, Mars also demonstrate four seasons. We may not call them like autumn and spring and winter and summer because Mars is very cold. The mean temperature on the surface of the Mars fluctuate between -50 to -80 degrees centigrade on equator. So it's cold. We will not be able to create an equivalence between Earth seasons and Mars season. Nevertheless, there are seasons. You can call them something else once you go and settle down, understand the cycles of these seasons, and call them some other name. But nevertheless, it offers you some variation every 3 to 4 months. The weather changes, weather pattern changes, very similar to Earth. What next? Well, Mars has the longest and the deepest canyon in the entire solar system. Now, this is like 100 times bigger than the Grand Canyon that we have. We have several other canyons, but the largest one we have seen so far on the surface is the Grand Canyon. I am sure under the ocean there are more bigger canyons, but since we do not measure them or we do not count them because we only look at the surface, so the Grand Canyon so far is the longest and the largest canyon on the surface of the Earth. But the Mars has the largest canyon and it's probably 100 times and 10 times deeper than the canyon on Earth. So it is surprising that a small planet could have such a large canyon on its surface. So these are the 10 interesting facts about Mars, and I think we should consider these things in mind before even thinking about settling down on Mars because of the atmosphere, less atmospheric pressure, less density in the materials which are available. Can we even grow food on Mars because the materials are less scarce and the density of the material is also less? Whether Earth plant can hold that soil and can grow, or maybe we require a different vegetation for specifically for Mars. So all this we need to keep in mind. And third thing is the gravity. So we need to survive in the lower gravity. If you weigh 100 kgs on Earth, you would weigh only 38 kgs on Mars. So I think these are all some weird conditions Mars will offer. And before you plan a trip to Mars, consider all these things. So, and I thought you found the information offered today interesting. Join me again tomorrow in Multiverse with AKULMAC, and you can also send us your comments, which I can read out in everyday session of Multiverse. And for today, I like to say goodbye, only to catch you again tomorrow. Bye bye for today. Have a nice day.